Good morning, gentlemen. It's good to be here with in between all of you, and especially Anand and Vishakha and my dear friend from Uber. So, like the organizer said, it's good to see Ola and Uber together, separated by Zify in between. Right? My name is Anurag, and I'll be acting as the Arnab Goswami for this panel. And we would start with a small introduction about ourselves before we begin with the whole panel. How about that? Sure. So Vishakha, will start with you.
A very good morning, everybody. I'm sure all of you are wondering what's this film actress doing on this panel. Well, let me just tell you, I think it was very important to give a woman's perspective, one, and two, I am the end consumer. I survive on Uber cabs. I also survive on Ola. Let me be a little, not be biased. But yes, I don't drive. So as I said, I'm the end consumer, and hopefully I'm going to give let's say our perspective to them.
Sure. So, how many of you use Ola here? Just by show of hands would be really helpful to understand how many customers are there. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So, that's what we do. We ease out your transportation using the power of mobile, and that's what we've been doing for the last 4 years. Technically, I think we're the first in India to come out with mobile as a solution for transportation, and the scale that we are seeing is tremendous because we realize that's a wonderful need both for customers and drivers to grow with. Yeah, that's about us.
Hi, I'm Santhosh from Uber in Chennai. So I'm not going to do a show of hands. Our name is on the board. I'm pretty sure most of you took Uber to get here.
Okay. I work with a startup named Zify. Zify is into peer-to-peer ride-sharing network. We make your daily commute simple and fun using carpooling. So we are a company who makes carpool work. So having said that, my first question would be definitely to Santosh. So where do you see the road transport industry in India in the next 5 years, and how far the road transport industry has come up in the last 5 years?
So, see, when we look at transportation in any urban city, one of the biggest concerns today is most cities with growing population, you have a lot of congestion. Public transportation doesn't grow at the same speed as what the population is in the city. And you see that more and more private cars and vehicles ushering into the roads. Now, if you just, to give you a stat from a couple of weeks ago, Chennai has the highest vehicular density in India. There's about 2,080 cars or motor vehicles for every kilometer of road, right? Imagine if continues for another 10 years and you have the population of the city doubles. There is already whatever road space you have gets occupied by more and more buildings, and you're left with less and less roads. And to acquire any land to build additional public transportation in the city gets more and more difficult, right? And that's a scenario which is coming up in most cities that we've seen. And that's where something like an Uber, where you get shared resources, right? So today we talk about getting a car in a few minutes, and you take that car and get to point B. So one step forward is that, hey, what if multiple people, today you have like people sharing that common resource at different points of time. What if that can happen simultaneously, right? What if you can press a button and share a ride with someone else to go somewhere? Something like the likings of what Zify is doing, and something Zify is doing, and what we've been doing in, say, cities around the world, in some of the cities where we have something called as Uber Pool, which is basically you get to share a ride. So the end consumer pays less, the person driving the car makes more money out of it, and you ease the traffic situation in the city that you're in. And real estate in any city that you take in the world, in the heart of the city, is expensive. And that can be put to more productive use than building parking lots. And that's where we should be headed over the next 5 to 10 years.
Sure. So, our perspective comes from the fact that India is not a car-owned country, right? As in, if you look at personal transportation and private car ownership in particular, it's about 3 to 4%. out of 100 people sitting in this room, though may not be the best of samples, but of 100 people sitting out there in the country, 4 of them own a car. Compare that to the US, where it's a 65 to 70% of per capita car ownership. So we are not a country of car owners primarily. Flip side, like Santhosh pointed out, even though we are not a country of car owners, our roads are already clogged, right? And that's scary and dangerous, which is where we bring in a very different perspective in terms of using transportation as a service, right? Flip back to the software days, where there were days when software used to be sold as a product, right? You bought it off a shelf, off a CD, and then the CD goes absolutely wasted, right? Flip to software as a service, where the same software used by multiple people, right? And without any real estate typically occupying it. That's where we think transportation is headed. We think transportation is not about having a car in your garage not being utilized fully, but about a car out there ready to pick you up whenever you want. Not just a car, could be a type of a car, could be an auto, could be a black and yellow taxi, could be any vehicle, just about any vehicle picking you up, right? So build use cases so that customers, citizens don't find the need to buy a car. And that kind of gets validated today because of 2 things. One, the smartphone penetration going up, demographics getting skewed very, very positively. So when we go to a college and we ask by a show of hands, how many of you want to buy the latest car? We don't see hands going up. We ask them, how many of you want to buy the latest phone? Everyone puts up their hand, right? So that's the change that is driving this in a big way. But at the background of the change is the fact that we don't have the resources today, infrastructure today to kind of support car ownership. So we'll probably leapfrog car ownership as a phase, just like we leapfrog desktop as a phase, right? So that's where I think it is headed.
So Vishakha, from a consumer point of view, I would actually need your feedback in terms of, do you think companies like us, over Ola, Uber, or as a matter of fact, Zify, or any other company in the road transport industry which you talk, is the solution good enough for the problem what we as a consumers are facing today in our daily lives?
See, as consumers, well, we're a large nation and we have innumerous problems, but I think we're on the right track. As you just mentioned, we were talking about, yeah, Santhosh, I'm so sorry, you're going to kill me for this, Santhosh. Show me your name there. Okay, the Uber guy. Okay, no, so as Santhosh was saying that, Zuber pool, etc. I think these are very, very interesting developments that will take us to another level in the future, because I've been in Europe for the last 4 months and I have actually used BlaBla cars there, traveling from Rome to Milan, and I think it's brilliant because you meet like-minded people, you travel with them at a much lesser cost, and of course your carbon footprint is also low, so you become a little more eco-friendly while doing that. However, we still can't do that in India, because I would be scared to share a cab with other people, sometimes even the driver. So I would say from my perspective, from a woman's perspective, safety is a huge issue. But then, as I just mentioned before we came here, that it's not really a reflection on the company, it's a reflection on the complete mindset of people, But yes, I think we're on the right track. I mean, it's made my life easier, a lot easier. I've survived on Olacabs, I survive on Uber cabs in Italy all the time. So I think we're on the right track.
So a follow-on question to that, like Vishakha mentioned about that, security in our Indian market context is of the topmost priority. Do you guys think that it's more about perception changing measures what we have to take, or it's actually a security threat by traveling with someone whom you don't know? Because as a matter of fact, none of us know the cab driver or the auto driver who's actually driving that vehicle. So is it based on perception or the anxiety associated with that, or how is it?
Sure. So let me take a step back in terms of answering safety or perception or a real problem that needs to be addressed. We will look at it as something that has to be prevented. Be it crime or be it any untoward incidents or any kind of potential security risk has to be prevented from very, very organic, basic things that has to be done in the system, right? It can't be an eyewash in any way, be it in terms of verification, be in terms of traceability, be it in terms of training, in terms of investment into the driver. Those are things that need to be solved for, and like I said, in many real ways. Two, let's take a look at how carpooling or sharing a cab with someone, with your driver in the first place, right? And two, with another passenger comes into question. When it comes to, say, an ecosystem of drivers, there is a level of control that you might have as a service provider to be able to go back and work with them, to be able to go back and actually verify them, to be able to track them in real time, right? Which is probably one reason why carpooling or probably ride sharing as a concept in India has not taken off really well, right? Your question is how is an Uber or an Ola or any other Zify going to be sure who's the guy sharing the seat with me, right? And that's a question that will remain extremely unanswered. We've spent millions of dollars on verifying every driver, ensuring that every car has a GPS, investing on training on how to behave with customers, and we've been doing that for the last 4 years, right? And we really can't do that with customers, practically speaking, right? So that's going to be a challenge that has to be addressed. Two, ride sharing in the US has worked, in the West particularly has worked for a very different reason. There, a car becomes a necessity, right? If you look at India as a country, a car is not something that you buy out of necessity. You buy it out of a social need. You buy it out of peer pressure. You buy it out of a particular stature in life that makes you actually make the buy. And you really don't care if you get those 3,000 or 4,000 rupees extra to pay off that EMI, because that's not your focus, right? Compare that to the West, where the car is a necessity. You will find ways to actually fuel your installment. You will find a way to fuel what you're spending on your car. Three, the number of cars, like I said, personally owned cars are far lower. So if there is an opportunity for ride sharing or carpooling, that should probably come from, in a big way, come from transportation networks like aggregators, like taxis, etc. And that's one area that needs to be solved for. Yeah.
Yep. Let me just take the safety part first, right? When we just look back, say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? The options that you had on transportation, the level of checks that were there in place were very minimal. And today what you have with some of folks like Uber or Ola, there's so much that goes into checks and balances in the system, right? And today when you request a car on Uber, you get the photograph of the driver, you get the car number, you get his phone number, you can share it with your near and dear ones so that they can track every step of your journey, right? And when you're in the car, you can press an SOS button and it feeds a call to the police station, right? So that level of security, wherein like you have that footprint of the journey that's available for people to your near and dear ones to follow. These are not things that were there 3 years ago, 4 years ago, right? When you hail a cab on the street, when you hail an auto rickshaw on the street, you don't get all of this. The technology is what makes travel safer, right? And today we are saying, just as Anand was saying, so much goes into background checks of drivers and all that, right? But today when you look at the consumer base around here, everybody has a more internet footprint, right? You have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have Twitter. There's umpteen places where you can do verifications. And it's not too far away from in the future where you can actually figure out who's going to be in that car and figure out whether you want to take a ride in that car or not, right? It's not too far away. And I think like 3 years ago, people would have told us, hey, mobile app, India, it's not going to work. You'll need to call to get a car. You need to give directions to the driver, right? Today, nobody seems to call for a cab. We had this whole industry which was like you book a car for 5 hours and use it whenever you want. You pay for the asset rather than for the service. And now you've moved to a stage where you just push a button, get a car, go, let it go. Half an hour later, you need another car, you do the same thing all over again. Right? This was something that people would have thought that would not work in India. Oh, India is different. No, it's not. People are the same. We're seeing that in India, internet penetration on mobile phones is far greater than on desktops, like Anand was saying earlier. We've just skipped that whole step, right? And this is just the future. We're going to be there. People are adopting it, and that's how it's going to be.
So, I think we have enough insights on the security, but given the fact, about the market, the Indian market as such, off lately we have seen majority of the companies from the West coming into the Indian market, and they're changing their business model for a significant level. So I'm sure you would again be able to add something because many people consider that in the Indian market has taken Uber out of Uber, is what general perception is. Because now Uber is into autos as well. Uber is offering cashless transaction. So how do you see the localization part being a very important aspect in the technology or in the solution which the players can offer?
So the localization comes in many different ways, right? So for example, like we say Uber is a technology platform. It's an technology infrastructure behind a city, right? Yeah, today we are running an experiment in Delhi where you can get an auto on Uber. You can pay by cash in Hyderabad on Uber. But at the same time, you can just open and have a package delivered in Manhattan, right? You can get a lunch in Barcelona. You can get a lunch in LA. So it's not about a car coming to you. It's that technology infrastructure that can be put to use on many different ways. And there's always going to be localization, right? Every company is going to have its DNA, and every company will also look at what consumers want in a specific market, and will find that match between the company's DNA and what the market wants, and will always be willing to fine-tune their offerings. Like for example, all across the world, Uber, we use credit cards for transaction. In India, we use a mobile wallet, right? So that's the first localization that we did in India. And this is not something that for every company, like we say, right? Uber as a company is a global company, but for every city, Uber is for that city. And it changes from city to city.
So Anand, your thoughts into it, because there are certain ways or certain aspects where the business model or the domain where Ola operates is quite similar to where Uber operates. But as Santhosh also mentioned about the payment part, whereas you guys have your own wallet system. So how do you see the whole localization part of it? And especially if you could add on the Ola Cafe delivery, what you guys have started.
Sure. So I'll take the transportation bit first. I think transportation is one thing that's extremely hyper-local, right? It's not even local. Very, very hyper-local. And we realized this the day we stepped into our second city 4 years ago, right? We moved from Bombay to Delhi to Bangalore. And voila, it was completely different. And it hit us in a different wind altogether. And I say this because we're not building a taxi company. We're not building a transportation company. We're building an on-demand platform, right? Incidentally, it serves transportation in a big way, which has been the primary focus. And when I say an on-demand platform, in any platform, there's two sides to it, right? There's a driver in this case, there is a customer in this case, and we can't look at a driver as a driver. We can't look at him as even a partner, right? We might address him as a partner, but to us, he's our customer, right? Because he's someone who's actually going to use a product, probably even more than a customer. A driver uses his mobile app for 14, 15 hours a day, whereas we as customers use it in bursts, probably 5 to 10 minutes a day, right? So the product that has to be designed, the product that has to be made, has to be tailored to him or her first, right? And then to a customer. A customer is far more well equipped with an iPhone, right? We can't afford to give iPhones to 150,000 drivers out there today, right? We're not at that scale where we could afford to dole out an iPhone. So we have to make the best of hardware available, right? We'll have to ensure that the best of software gets in there, and he's still able to make enough money, to take the cliche of, the whole idea of drivers. That's where I think it's very, very hyper local. That's on one side, right? But for customers, again, if you see, Santhosh pointed out, we will definitely go through this entire skipping of the desktop mode, like I said. But what's more important is where are we today, right? There are 8 to 9 cities on the top 100 cities that, I mean, on the 100 cities that we are on. The top 8 to 9 cities are heavily mobile focused, right? App focused when I say mobile. 85–90% of our bookings comes through the mobile app, right? Look at a city like a Trichy or a Tirunelveli or an Erode or a Pondicherry, right? Where even today there are about 40–50% transactions that happen through the call center, right? Smartphone penetration is definitely a concern, not something that's already sorted for. It's growing really, really fast. Our national average would be upward of 80%, thanks to the depth in each of these cities, right? But there are these pockets in different parts of the country which need a different approach. Cash, for instance, has been the most preferred payment method all along. We've been a cash economy all along. India has been known as a cash economy, and we can't, ignore that. But if you look at the wallet, right? This is the first mobile wallet for a cab booking, like you said, and there's a closed wallet which you can use on the Ola platform. 50% of our transactions happen on the wallet today, so the adoption is immense, right? So while on one side you build for the masses, right, you also create enough opportunity for the early adopters, for the fast movers, both for customers and drivers. So every driver, for instance, today has a bank account linked to his driver device, right? So we don't deal in cash with him anymore. His daily settlements happen online, happens through the bank account wirelessly, right? And he doesn't have to come to the office, remit cash or collect cash, none of those businesses, right? And that's taken time. That's taken about 4 years to ensure that every driver has a bank account. Every auto driver today on the Ola platform has a prepaid card and an ATM card. Immense sense of financial inclusion, right? So I think that's where it goes far deeper into becoming hyperlocal as a model, and that I think will take it in a big way to be able to serve a country of 1 billion people, because you're not talking about the top 5 million. We're talking about a country of 1 billion. So that's where the difference is. Coming to Cafe specifically, what we have built over the past 3 years is a technology platform laced with logistics at the bottom of it, right? So primarily we're an on-demand platform driven through technology, serving logistics, delivering logistics. What we've been able to do in the last 3 years is to get you a cab at your doorstep within minutes. Can we use the same network to get you anything you want in 5 minutes? Cafe, for an instance. So that's where Cafe came in, and tremendous response, like I said, yeah.
Thanks. So, Vishakha, as a consumer, we have seen these companies, venturing out into different aspects of the whole transportation as well as the logistics, like Ola venturing into food ordering or all those things. Is it a, good situation, or is it a better option for the consumer, so that instead of going to 10 different apps or 10 different companies, if you could get your food and anything else on the same platform, is it a good thing to have, or is it too much of a localization?
I think localization is great, and I think it's great to have too many number of options. Not too many, but a number of good options. Because a lot of times, as I said, I swear by Uber, okay, but there have been times when at the last moment, I've got a notice saying, oops, your Uber driver can't make it, please book another one. And I don't have the time, so that's when I would go for an Ola, So yes, you need options all the time, one. And what was the second part of the question?
The second part of the question was regarding, these transport companies, or the companies like us venturing into more of a logistics platform where we could deliver anything and everything.
I believe in Spain, one of Uber or somebody has where you can give parcels also. You can order lunch and dinner, and there's some facility where you can, courier parcels or something. Yes, in Manhattan maybe. And customers then probably pay a lesser price while the driver is fulfilling this transaction as well on the side. So it works well, I guess, to each his own, I wouldn't want that if, on my ride, somebody delivering a parcel to somebody else. So yes, to each his own. But in the future, regarding when it comes to all these different progressive, I don't know what's the term, but I would just request Uber and Ola to start one of those water taxis, because I live in Navi Mumbai and I have a lot of friends who travel from Navi Mumbai to Mumbai, and it takes them an hour and a half to travel. And I think It's Mumbai, water, that is your next step, you know. And other than Boston, yes. Okay, so yes, I think Mumbai is the
Just
next
a
stop.
ticker, Ola Prime gives you a water bottle.
Oh, great, so great. So we need that. We need that on the Ola app. I don't know if it's available or not. So that would be really, really nice.
So
Yeah.
just to add on to that, I think it's not just about cafe, right? When we looked at categories as a whole, we started with sedans and then we went on to minis and prime, and then it went into a different mode altogether. These were categories that Ola created, and then there were categories like autos and taxis, the black and yellows in Bombay and other cities, which have been there for 7, 8, 9 decades, right? And there has been no change whatsoever in the way they've operated, right? I make it a point to take autos in Chennai on the Ola app when I come here, just as a sense of fulfillment, because my auto experience in Chennai in my childhood, right, when I've lived here, and my auto experience on the Ola app, right, are worlds apart, and that's what I hear from consumers everywhere. So I think it's about use cases, right? So there's a use case for transportation, there's a use case for three-wheeler transportation, probably two-wheeler transportation, there's a use case for food, right? And these are things that you need in the instant. Food, for example, is something that you would need in 15 minutes. If you're hungry, you need food now, right? People took a 2-minute stand, we took a 15-minute stand. Transportation is very similar. If you don't want to own a car, you should be able to get a car right by your curbside whenever you want it. So I think that's where the DNA is. The DNA is about making things available to you in the instant, right? It could be using a dedicated fleet. So Ola Cafe, for example, uses a dedicated fleet today. It doesn't use a car where you would be traveling, right? It uses a dedicated fleet of unorganized or unused inventory, delivering only food, right? But that's with the expertise that we bring in on the technology and the logistics.
So I think what you would get with Uber Eats is a slightly different experience, wherein it's all about, one of the things is that what can we bring to a city, right? Uber is all about a city. So in a city, let's take the case of Chennai, right? Let's take Chennai. So you have a city which is 25-30 kilometers in radius, and people in one part of the city just tend to be around in that part of the city. And what something like Uber Eats does in a city like LA or Barcelona is take restaurants in one part of the city, make sure that people in other living far away from that restaurant can still get to experience food in that restaurant, right? It's all about efficiency. We use the downtime of a restaurant to pack food, which goes into Uber cars into the trunk, which creates a greater utilization of that asset. So when someone buys a car and is using it as his business, right? Everyone we have on our platform is an entrepreneur who has invested in an asset and is seeking to generate revenues out of that asset. How can we keep increasing that? Increasing the ROI for that person who owns the asset, while at the same time making it more and more affordable for the end consumer. And the key to that is improving the efficiency on the system. And when you get to a stage where, what we were 5 years ago, where you block a car for 8 hours, you pay, what you actually pay for is that depreciation value of that car for that 8 hours and not really how many kilometers you drive. Today you're getting to a stage where that car in that 8 hours is driving for a lot longer. Basically, for that entrepreneur, the amount of revenue generating time in that 8-hour block is far higher than what it was 5 years ago, which means that the benefit can be passed on to the end consumer. And that efficiency makes it more affordable. That affordability makes it more adopted by the masses. And that's where you kind of start seeing that these mobile apps start becoming an extended part of your public transportation system. Right? Today we see that in cities like Chicago, we see Uber as a point where we see a significant portion of trips either starting or beginning at a public transportation hub. It could be a metro station, it could be, you see that last mile connectivity comes with this.
So, unfortunately, we are, we don't have any time for further discussion. I'm sure, including me and for most of us, we would have wanted this discussion to go further forward. I would like to actually conclude this panel at this point of time, and I would definitely want to thank Santhosh, Anand, and Vishakha for, joining me on this hard-pressing topic which every one of us is actually suffering on our daily lives. So I'm sure the audience would have got some insights into industry, and hopefully you'll see a lot of things coming in, not just from Ola and Uber, but from Zify as well. Thank you so much.
Good luck with that, Anurag.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Please give a big round of applause for the panel. And of course, just hold on a second.